before we get to Chris Sims, Paulie has a question.
Well, I heard a lot of hubbub about 20 minutes ago from the back row, and McLovin says, I have a whose career would you want? I think it's quarterback related, and he's very fired up about it.
All right. What do you have?
Okay, at first blush, you're going to be like, well, this is obvious. But whose career would you want? Washington football quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick or former Broncos, Bears, Dolphins quarterback Jay Cutler? And one of the reasons I asked, they have almost identical stats. 223 touchdowns for Fitzpatrick, 227 for Cutler, 35,000 yards for Cutler, 35,000 yards for Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's entering his 17th season. Cutler played 12 seasons before retiring.
All right. Well, let me start there with Chris Sims. Chris, whose career would you rather have, Ryan Fitzpatrick's or Jay Cutler?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess let me just go through this with my thought a little bit. Cutler had certainly more high-end talent and did bring a team to an NFC championship game. There's no doubt about that. But I guess I'd also look at it and go, damn, I'm better than what my career ended up really being. Maybe I should have had more success. So I think, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I am. It's a close one there, but I'll go with Fitzpatrick. I just give him a lot of credit for the fact that he's hung around, and really beat the doubters, and he's had some good moments and played some of his best football here at the end of his career.
I would say Ryan Fitzpatrick because he's an underdog, whereas Cutler we look at and we go, and I remember you loved Cutler coming out of college.
Right.
And you liked him more than any of those quarterbacks, I believe. Right?
Yeah, remember that? That was one of my first proclamations. I think, what was that? When I was like a weekly guest and I was down there in Tampa, right? And you were like, so who do you take, Matt Leinart or Vince Young? And I was like, neither. You take Jay Cutler, right? So I do. I remember that very clearly, and I took some heat from some of my Texas friends that day when I said that.
Yeah,
but
Cutler feels like an underachiever, where Ryan Fitzpatrick feels like an overachiever.
Agreed. I'm with you there all the way.
All right. Has Mac Jones earned the starting job in New England? Tom Curran was gushing about this, that Cam's been out, Mac Jones has been in and has looked very impressive. Knowing Bill Belichick, having spent some time there, could you imagine Belichick going with a rookie quarterback to start week one?
I mean, I think before training camp, I would have erred on no to that. But, I think Mac Jones has impressed so much and been so good through training camp, everything he does on and off the field, that I do. And the fact that they kind of praise him as well, I don't think they're scared. I don't. I think in the perfect world, they'd probably rather go with Cam Newton. But, I mean, I still can't believe what Cam Newton did. I don't know other way to say it. I'm shocked. I mean, his career is hanging in the balance. Yeah. And to make a mistake like that and do that, it's just unforgivable. And as you know, and anybody knows, it's the Patriots. They're like psycho detailed. And now you got a guy where he's not vaccinated and you're not sure if you can trust him. And then you got this other guy who's like a robot and kind of like Tom Brady-ish. And he continues just to get better and better and been very impressive in the preseason. So, yeah, I think there's a chance. And if he balls out this weekend, Dan, and I don't know if Cam will play or not this weekend now, but if Mac goes out there and plays phenomenal, I would not be shocked if they just pulled the trigger and started the Mac Jones era.
I know that your co-host Mike Florio brought this up about the Jags, that maybe they were waiting to name the starting quarterback because maybe Urban Meyer wanted to go with Gardner Minshew because maybe he didn't like what he saw with that offensive line for Trevor Lawrence. He has since named Trevor Lawrence. I follow Florio's philosophy here. I don't want to put Trevor Lawrence out there and have him become another Andrew Luck. I want to make sure that that I'm going to protect him. He might not make good decisions. I want him protected at all costs. And that's what would be my big concern. Your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence getting the start?
No, yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, that is a concern. It's something that we talked about a lot on Monday. I brought it up with Florio, and I was like, listen, I don't think it's a real competition here. Trevor is way better than Gardner Minshew. I mean, maybe doesn't have quite the experience yet in those things, but the talent that's not comparable. But, so I thought maybe that's, and you listen to the Monday night crew, right? They were kind of saying some things like that. And I thought, oh, okay, so this is more about getting the team in the right place. It really has nothing to do with a true competition. I think really ultimately Urban Meyer, hey, I know he's adjusting to life in the NFL and all those things, but damn, he's still really smart, understands football, and I think he'll play a certain way to protect Trevor Lawrence. I said today on the show today, the phrase I used, you said Andrew Luck. I said, don't Joe Burrow Trevor Lawrence. Don't do that. Don't have him drop back 45 times a game and, we got to win. Even though we know we're not going to be in the playoffs, we got to go for 5-11. Like, who the hell cares if you're 5-11 or 3-13, right? Like, save the franchise. And they didn't do that in Cincinnati. And, I heard the other night too, Urban Meyer talked to Joe Burrow in the offseason. So that's in his mind. And I think he'll do the right thing here and realize the big picture and not fall into the trap of, we're losing. I just got to let Trevor loose and let him try to carry the team. I think he's too smart to see the big picture there.
Has John Elway whiffed on another quarterback?
I don't know if he's whiffed. I'm not going to say that yet about Drew Lock. There's some things I like. He played better towards the end of last year. I think, when you take a few things into account here, Vic Fangio, he's a defensive head coach. They usually err on, let's go with the safer quarterback. Let's go with the quarterback that's not going to mess it up for my defense. George Payton, the GM, he came from Minnesota. He was there when they drafted Teddy. And I think ultimately, Drew Lock, I think, scarred Vic Fangio a little bit last year with some of the bad decisions, reckless throws, things like that, to where Teddy is the safe bet. I don't know if Teddy can maximize the talent of the offense quite the way Drew Lock can, but I think, I understand his logic here with going with the proven veteran who knows how to protect the football and is not going to mess things up early on in the year and kind of get them behind the 8 ball. If that doesn't go well, then you bring the flamethrower, off the bench and go, okay, we need you. We need you to make some plays and do those type of things. And Locke has looked very good in the preseason.
It feels like every year we get mixed opinions on preseason. Like, don't read too much into preseason. And then we ultimately read too much into preseason. How important is like a preseason game to a regular season game? How different is it at the quarterbacking position?
Sure, it's a lot different. I think the biggest thing, it's just more. It's elementary for I think some of the start. You're not going to unveil some of your best plays. There's really no game planning. Like, hey, this team does this, so we're going to attack them like that. You're kind of just like, hey, we got to go out here and work on what we got to work on and do that. And you don't want to show too much for the and have teams be ready in the regular season. The defenses are the same way. You don't get to see a lot of exotic variety type defenses in the preseason. And then it slowly starts to progress where you're going to see a little bit more of that this weekend. So, yeah, you're right. You don't read too much into it, but there's certainly some things that you can take from preseason to go, ooh, that team, like, let's say the Miami Dolphins, right? I'll just use them as an example. What are they, 2-0 in the preseason? I don't really care what their record is. I just look at them and go, man, the way that team looks, I like it. They got depth on the front line. They got depth in the front seven. They got speed at the right positions. Tua's improved. So that gives me the inkling at least to say, like, hey, I'm not going to say they're going to the playoffs, but they're going to be right in the thick of things and, are going in the right direction.
He's Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk co-host, former NFL quarterback. Matthew Stafford says, hey, I want to play in big games. I don't want to be playing at 1 o'clock on a Sunday. Well, how much of that is on Matthew Stafford that, like, he didn't win a playoff game? Like, we look at the quarterback and, you're supposed to elevate your team.
I know.
He didn't elevate his team.
Well, no, see, I'll disagree a little bit there. I mean, the fact that they were even in the playoffs at some of those years, they were only there because of Matt Stafford, And again, I think we've talked about this before. Let's not forget, horrible call in the Dallas playoff game, right? With the pass interference late or whatever the damn penalty is that they called there. I can't remember the specifics. They were kind of in the lead. That was a controversial call. The other year they went to Seattle in a wild card game one year and played in the playoffs there. Receivers dropped the ball. I mean, go back and watch it. So the team has failed him to a degree. And a lot of these years, Dan, where I'll always argue or defend, where they were maybe 7-9 or 6-10, I wanted to go, like, they would be 2-14 if it wasn't for Matthew Stafford. No 1,000-yard rusher since, 2012. No offensive line. No namesake defensive guy you can come up with in the Matthew Stafford era other than Sue early on in his career to go, oh, wait, they did have one good defensive guy his whole era there. Oh, wait, they did have Calvin Johnson. Okay, they've had 3 people in like 10 years. Whoopity-doo. What is he supposed to do with that? So I'm a defender of him, but I know I'm going to be watching this year too because it's going to be a big year. He's got at least some talent and a system around him here that he should be able to maybe shut some of the haters up.
Well, I was on the bandwagon probably before anybody saying if you're looking for an MVP candidate, this is the guy. But I wonder about that. You know, you lose Cam Akers. Is Sony Michel an upgrade?
No,
okay.
Absolutely not. He is not. Sony Michel, I mean, listen, that was it's a risky trade in my opinion to a degree. You know, first off, he's a first-round pick and New England's trading him away, right? There's something they don't like, right? And you know, anything, you know.
If the Rams pick up N'Keal Harry, then I'm going to worry about that one.
Yeah, exactly right. But they're desperate, you know, because, you know, like you're saying, you know, it's their run game is important to their success. That's really what, you know, their offense is based around that. And then the bootlegs and the play actions and the speed sweeps all come off of that. So they I think, you know, the one thing I always give the Rams credit for, they push the chips in the middle of the pile every year and go, we're going for it. We're trying to win the Super Bowl. We don't care. We're not going to 8-9 or it was 9-8 or anything like that. We are going for it. So, but Sony Michel, I mean, knee issues. Anybody I've talked to in the NFL thinks it's not going away. There's a real issue there. But I would expect them to sign another running back or two here when cuts are made, you know, to bolster that group altogether.
If Belichick is calling you and he wants to trade you somebody.
Yeah, right. You better be like, what? Well, we need to do extra homework than normal.
Because I will say this, Belichick is really good at getting rid of players a year early than a year late.
Yes.
He may not be great at drafting players, certainly in the first round or skill position players, but you know, when it's, hey, I got Richard Seymour, you interested? Hey, I got Jamie Collins, I got Lawyer Malloy, you interested? Like you go, right. Yeah, those are big names. And then all of a sudden, hey, anybody interested in Malcolm Butler?
Yes.
Yeah, how do those things? Who was the Logan Mankins? Remember that?
Yeah.
Tom's mad. His offensive lineman got traded to Tampa, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, we never heard of him again. Right. Yeah. No, I know. Bill's got a great feel of getting that, you know, ooh, it's coming to the end. Maybe he's got one more year, but it's about over. And, yeah, he's a step ahead of the game that way. And that's some of the toughest things to do as a head coach because, you know, say what you want. These coaches do like their players. There is a personal aspect. But his ability to cut the cord a year early has, of course, made them really, really damn good for a long time because of that. So, I would be weary of Sony Michel, and I'll certainly be watching.
More likely to disappoint.
Yeah.
Cowboys, Browns.
Hot. I'm going to go Cowboys. I got to see it to believe it with the Cowboys first. The Browns last year just kept going like this. And then this year they just made their roster just keep going like this. And it's year 2 in the same system for Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
And, you know, everything you hear, Odell Beckham Jr. looking really damn good. I mean, on paper, the Browns roster is as impressive as anybody in football. So I think between that, you know, Stefanski and Baker have created a little culture there. They're pretty damn good on both sides of the ball. And Dallas, I just want to go, one, I'm not sure Dak is totally himself, and he hasn't played, and now he's going to go to Tampa week 1 and just carry the team. I'm not sold they're going to be able to run the ball. I got to see Ezekiel Elliott. You know, everybody's talking about he's leaner and quicker. I want to go, it doesn't look good that his legs are half the size of Dak Prescott on HBO Hard Knocks. I don't know. I haven't seen running backs really be that successful when their legs are half the size of the quarterback. So I got to see that. And then, of course, the defense we know was a disaster last year. So I'll pick the Cowboys in that department.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
What?
It's,
gosh about?
It's just it's the Cowboys.
I know.
They get more attention than it feels like all of the other teams combined.
I agree.
But,
I know.
But it's just because they're America's team and that popular fan base, right?
It really is for the most part. And Jerry's, you know, amazing at keeping them in the news and relevant and doing things like that. But you're right. Yeah, it's amazing. They do. They get too much attention. They got a few stars, but yeah, they gotta have a team. And, you know, that's where, you know, you look at it where the team, I mean, there's some good things.
But everybody talks about the talent, Chris, because it's the Cowboys. Like, man, those linebackers, Sean Lee, Leighton Vander. And I'm going, where are these guys?
I know. Jalen Smith, he's a backup.
I know.
They paid him all this money. He's a backup. He's not even going to start on their team this year. Randy Gregory, second-round pick. He's never done crap for them. Yep. They've had some interesting moves and decisions they've made. Taco Charlton, right? First-round pick a few years ago. Damn, he might not be in the league this year. So they've swung and missed there, too, that have, I think, really been a detriment to the building of their football team. It is. They're overhyped. It's just Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Ezekiel Elliott, and we'll see where it goes from there.
When do you make your Super Bowl pick?
Probably next week on my podcast. I got to start kind of formulating, playoff teams and doing that.
How about who are you not picking?
Who am I not picking? Like, you mean that of, like, true playoff?
Yeah.
First, I'm not picking Chicago to go to the playoffs or anything for next year.
Neither is anybody in Chicago.
Yeah, right. I like that music. That's great. I don't know who I'm not picking.
Seattle?
Gosh, Seattle I'm not sure about. I got to see Seattle a little bit. A little offseason drama, new offensive line. Hey, we'll see where that goes. The other thing I'll just say, too, is, the defense got better last year, but underwhelming secondary other than Quandre Diggs. Nobody up front that you're worried about, right? Jerron Reed's gone. It's a lot of, like, young guys where you're going, oh, they got potential, but is it going to come through? So they'd be a team that I look at. Yeah, I almost am borderline, like, I have some thoughts to go, man, Seattle, I think, is on the playoff bubble in that division. I think the 49ers, the Rams will be good. I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of fighting for their life this year.
Better team, Chargers, Rams. Who has more wins?
The thing that scares me so much about the Rams is they're just so thin. It is a 22-man team.
Yeah.
And, like, 2 injuries, they could totally be derailed there. Man, who am I going to pick? I'm still going to go with the Rams. I'm going to go with the proven commodity here in McVay and Raheem Morris being the defensive coordinator with Matthew Stafford. As that Chargers team, listen, they're a team that I'm certainly thinking about putting in the playoffs, but it is a new offensive coordinator. I still don't know why they really let Shane Steichen go out the door with the success they had with Justin Herbert and him last year. But Joe Lombardi, of course, we know he's pretty damn good under Sean Payton. So I guess that there's some things there I want to see. Can Derwin James stay healthy? Can Joey Bosa stay healthy? So that's why I'll err on the Rams, but certainly wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers win the playoffs too.
Great to talk to you, Chris. Thanks for joining us as always. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. See you. See you guys. Be good.
Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk co-host. Play of the Day's up next.